Hello and welcome everyone to the Beacon of Light podcast this evening. We want to welcome our amazing, beautiful guest, Miss Carolyn Warren. And so welcome to be a part of our show. And before we get to her, let's get to this.
I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for coming on. I know it's a little late where you are. So I
Yeah.
apologize for that. I know February with this extra training is a little bit busy. So I do apologize, but welcome everybody. And if you are here, please show up here live. Let us know what's going on in your life and tell us where you were from. So as we get into this, Miss Carolyn, you can see standing behind her, The Women at the Table, a beautiful, amazing book. And I had the privilege of helping her with a virtual book launch in the fall, and it was incredible. And so, Carolyn, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow. I have been involved in helping women, and I've been passionate about helping them to discover who they are for a very, very long time. I've had extensive experience in running women's fellowship because my husband and I pastored a church for over 30 years. And I was intimately involved in the lives of women and running classes and doing training. And I've always just loved, I have three daughters. So I've always felt that there's nothing better than being a female. And so just being able to touch the lives of women, help them to understand their beauty, their grace, and that there's something special about each and every one of them has just been something that has sort of driven me. And if I've had a message all these years, it's the desire to help women to be successful and to be strong in whatever season of life they happen to be in. And so, no matter what I've done, it all boils down to helping women to love themselves, to push past any fears that they may have, and really realize that they are here on this earth for a reason, and to become passionate about who God created them to be and help them to find their voice and define what their message is and get busy doing that and promoting that in the world.
Oh, incredible. And in that work of learning who we are, finding that message and going forward, tell us a little bit about your book at Women at the Table. I'm assuming that this table might be, if you were to physically build it, it would probably be very large. I would guess there's probably more than just one woman at this table. And maybe I'm right.
Right. Yes, there is more than one woman at this table. And actually, my book is about 7 women who really had a great impact on my life. And all of these women were friends of my mother. And these are ladies who would come to our home and sit around her table. And these ladies had a love and appreciation for one another. And I had the privilege growing up being able to sort of overhear some of their conversation. And they also had an impact on my life because they were friends of my mother. That meant they could speak into my life, they could correct me, they knew who I was, and they were invested in helping me to become a successful person, and someone that they could be proud of. And so all of these women, they were very unique. Some were short, some were tall, some thin, a little plump, as we used to call it as I was growing up. but all of them had a love and appreciation for one another. And what I really saw growing up is that these women were supportive, they were encouraging one another, and there wasn't so much this competition trying to outdo one another. It was like they had sort of found their stride, and they knew where they excelled, and they knew what their strengths and their abilities were. In fact, my mother was known for being a great cook, and she still is a great cook. But I remember one of the ladies was not a great cook, and that was fine. She knew she wasn't a great cook, and sometimes when she wanted something special done, she'd ask my mom to fix a cake or whatever. And so I think that there was just this, to be able to sort of sit on the sidelines and see women who were not competing but were complementing one another. And I believe that that is a message that would bring a great deal of clarity and self esteem to the women today. And it's probably something that we've lost, but hopefully we can regain. And I hope by reading the book, The Women at the Table, women will begin to see and begin to yearn for those types of relationships.
Agreed. That is really key. Not
Mhm.
having the comparison and competition,
Mhm.
just arriving at the table with their gifts, with their
Mhm.
abilities, and then talking about them. I think it's really poignant that you said, they also were able to contribute to, and speak life into your life,
Mhm.
possibly at times to correct things, possibly at
Yes.
times to celebrate things. And that's really telling. I
Mhm.
feel like that's the part of community helping community, because there's a trust there. There
Mhm.
is truth there. There is an ability to have a place where we're not so lost, damaged, or hurt that we can't contribute to the table.
Right.
Sometimes that over focus on the challenges of our life becomes the focus. And I don't want to sidestep that. However,
Mhm.
I think the best way to overcome those challenges within your life is to reach maybe to the side and serve someone else. And the
Mhm.
perspective
Mhm.
here, you think, huh, maybe I can go forward. How did you make it through something like this? Oh, I
Mhm.
never knew about that. And the questions and the support within a community like that table at your mom's home, very powerful.
Right.
What is
Right.
you would love our younger generation to understand and know about all of this?
Well, I'd like to sort of piggyback off of something you said about, sometimes today we can become so consumed with the challenges that we are going through. And I believe that we need to sort of reevaluate how we perceive challenges, because challenges, and of course, all of us want to, wake up in the morning, if there's sunshine, we can eat chocolate covered strawberries, we don't have any difficulty. All of us want that. But um, at the end of the day, life can be challenging. Life, there are opportunities. Life is full of stress. But I found, and I talk about this in my book, is that it's during learning how to navigate those stressors, those opportunities, learning how to face those challenges head on. And there's something that happens on the inside. We become strengthened. We become stronger. I am not the person that I was 20 years ago because of some of the challenges that I went through. I share in the book that, there was a time when I had some health challenges, and, you know, that was not pretty, and it was not comfortable, and it was by no means fun. But through that challenge, I learned how to self discipline myself. I learned how to persevere. And I learned how to make some better decisions that would help me alleviate some of the health challenges that I was facing. And so, anyone who knows me now knows that, I've eliminated dairy from my life, from my menus and all of that. And I'm someone who loves dairy. I mean, I could, when I was growing up, I could drink just gallons and gallons of milk. I think it's the perfect beverage. I love cheese. And sometimes, even now, I miss a good old juicy grilled cheese sandwich. But I realized that I was going to be much healthier if I would learn to discipline myself and eliminate dairy from my life. And, I knew that I needed to do this. I'd done some research and I realized that, okay, some of the issues that I'm having would probably be eliminated if I would just discipline myself to eliminate dairy. And I fought that for years because I would prayer and, I wanted the easy way out. But then one day, I had a little, attack. And so it was like, okay, do you really want to continue to deal with this? Or would it be much easier if you just gave up dairy products? And from that day, I said, I'm going to discipline myself. I know that I love them and I know that I'm going to miss it, but I'm going to give it up. I haven't had any issues since I did that. Now, I can tell you that initially it was really difficult and I really missed it, but now I don't even think about it. And my life is so much um, uh, fuller. I'm healthier, I'm happier, and just by going through a challenge and learning how to discipline myself and make the decisions that I needed to make in order to live my best life, to be able to give my best to people, to be able to pursue my goals. And so, challenges, the stressors of life, sometimes we can learn how to make decisions that will help us navigate through that. And because I did that, because I overcame that challenge, I'm a stronger person. And so now saying no to something is so much easier simply because I went through that and made the decision that would be the best for me.
Beautifully said. Going through it, learning how
Mhm.
to control our own um, appetites and passions.
Yes.
When you have a passion for something and yet it's hurting you, it's like, oh, you have to finally face, you come to that point where like, okay, which one? Which one?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Face
Do
it.
I really want to live like this?
Right. And it comes to that thing. My dad has a saying, without pain, you don't change.
Yes.
And that
Hmm.
is true. It is true. So the challenges we have in our life, the pain that happens, we can say, you know what, going through this part of life is a way towards the healing. I love how you said
Hmm.
self-discipline, that self-control, and you just made the decision, and that probably every day beyond that got a little bit easier, a little
Right.
bit
Hmm.
easier, and it
Hmm.
just really improved. And so if we trust in the baby steps, trust in the little improvement, things can really happen for us. So,
Right.
in saying all of that, and this today on the blog, you guys have probably read through, there was something really interesting, a story that she talked about as she has moved to a new place.
Hmm.
And we all know what takes part in moving. Well, you got to pack, and
Hmm.
you got it all cleaned out of the one place, and it's satisfying. You turn back around, and you're like, I have to unpack all
Oh,
again. Really?
right.
So share a little bit about that experience.
Well, we have done several moves throughout our marriage, and this one was probably the most difficult for me because I think it was not only, as I shared in the blog, not only was I doing a physical move, but this was also a new season in my life. And so there were things that I wanted to hurry up and get to, but I had this process, and move or transition is all about going through the process. And so, you know, when we ended up downsizing, which is something that we had said that we were going to do. But when we got to our new place, we also realized that we hadn't gotten rid of enough stuff before we got to our new place. So, we've been in our house about a month now. And so it's been a little bit of a challenge, but I think that um, we're in a new environment, we're in a new city, we've downsized. The house, most of our homes have always been traditional, and if I've never met a Persian rug that I didn't love. And so it's like, I've just always been this very traditional type of person, and decor and everything. But the house that we moved into, when as soon as we walked in, it was like, this is the house. But it's a modern, it's open, it's just totally different from everything that any place that we've ever lived before. And what I'm seeing and what I'm coming to realize is that, this is a new season in my life. And so not only is God, taking me out of an old environment, out of a house that I thought I loved, and I just find another one that was smaller, but he's saying that this is a new season and things are new. And I've realized that as I've begun to unpack. And there were things that I said, oh, this has to be in the new house. And I've, wrapped it and made sure that it arrived safely and it wasn't broken. But here, it just doesn't fit. And so it's not so much, I believe, about the house, but it is where I am now. And I'm learning that when God transitions us, sometimes we are resistant to change. Most of us don't like change. We just want things to continue as they are. But God is saying that this is something new. And even with the book, when I wrote the book, I wrote the book because I felt that God told me to write it. And, at first I questioned, I thought, I never wanted to write a book. It was not on my bucket list. It wasn't something that I ever thought about doing. But once I've done that one, now I see there are these ideas, and there are these notes now that I'm writing. And so now I realize that even though this was something that I never thought that I would do, it wasn't on my list, that yes, this is God is taking me in a new direction. And so in many ways, this is a season where all things are becoming new. And it's a very exciting time. And I think that as women, sometimes, we get sort of stuck, and it's, we want things to remain the same. And I'm someone who likes to be in a very comfortable environment. And my whole environment is being in a place of upheaval. And so getting out of my own comfort zone is opening up new avenues and new opportunities for me to see myself doing things that I never thought that I would do. And just, it's, there's a practical dimension in the house move, but there is a larger emotional and spiritual transformation and change and transition that is also taking place.
And with your knowledge of those women at the table, how can you feed off of that information with all of this new change? Does it still apply for what you're experiencing today?
Yes, it does, because you know I I've always asked God, why did you allow me to have these wonderful women who mentored me and who imparted. And I had these wonderful memories that I was able to capture, in the book. And I think that it was preparing me for where I am now. So I'm. It's almost like that. There is. I was resourced and I was prepared. Yet, even though I didn't know what I was being prepared for, and I believe that that is one of the things that God does so wonderfully, is that we are there are times of preparation, there are people, there are situations, there are circumstances, there are things that we find ourselves being able to um, learn from and be developed, and we don't really understand why. And so I think now I am stepping into the reason why these women were in my lives, the perseverance, the stick to itiveness, the ability to go through hardships and come out on the other side and still have peace and still have joy and still have an excitement for living. Um, and so this is just a culmination of a journey. And I believe that if we can just grab hold of the fact that sometimes we are trying to define who we are and what our capabilities are and what's our why and what's our purpose. But if we just keep living each day to the fullest, being open to change, being open to continue to learn, being open to loving and extending ourselves to other people, we end up in a place where we are really and truly where God wants us to be. And so it's not that those situations are a distant, they are something that uh, was only appropriate and relevant then. It's also relevant now because I'm building on that.
Beautifully said. And I think that is why we are asked to remember our history. We are asked to
Mhm,
remember how we can move things forward and really feel that impact within our life. That is the part that is really powerful. And the women at the table, at your mother's table, gave you that teaching that is very, very powerful.
mhm.
So, with our last few minutes here, what would be your 2 minute saying to the world?
My 2 minute saying to the world would be, you are awesome and that you are wonderful. I have three daughters, and when they were growing up, I used to always tell them that I think you're wonderful, not because they were, of course, they were special to me, but they're wonderful because I believe that each of us was created with a design, with a unique talents, a unique abilities. And if we can just sort of um, grab hold of what has been put inside of us and develop it and learn how to give it out to the world, we can have great influence and we can really make a difference in the world. And when I say make a difference in the world, I believe that that starts with making a difference in your family, making a difference in your community. The women who impacted my life made a difference in their small community, and because they made a difference in my life, now I am able to sort of continue their legacy, continue their message. And now I'm making a difference to a larger group of people that they didn't even know existed. And I believe that the people that I am able to impact will be able to touch lives that I don't even know about. And so I think that, instead of us uh, sitting back and saying, well, look at that person and look what they are able to do, to look inward and say, okay, what makes me unique? what gives me um, uh, what allows me to touch people in a very unique way. And it doesn't have to be one of the points I make in the book is that, sometimes we think that you've got to be famous, you've got to, have a PhD. And of course, having a PhD is something to be applauded, or that you've got to have this bank account that, be the next Jeff Bezos or whatever. You don't. We had one of our members of our church had her funeral today. This was a woman that was known in our church as Mother Silas. She never birthed a child biologically, but everyone saw her as being a mother because that was the quality, that unique grace that she carried. And so she was able to make everyone feel loved, make everyone feel special. And we looked at her and looked at her life and so thankful that we were able to be a part of her life. And so I think that again, if we can just sort of tap into what is the grace and the anointing that we have, and if we can just learn how to develop that and get to the place where we freely give it away, just like this lady that was so special to us in our church, I think that we would have the opportunities to just impact lives and influence people would just be it would be astounding. And so the message that I want for everyone is just to know that you are special. You are special because you were created to make a difference in the world. And stop comparing yourself to others. Learn to move beyond your fears and go for it. The world is waiting for you.
Amen. The world is waiting for you. And with that, Miss Carolyn Warren, thank you so much for being a part of the Beacon of Light podcast, sharing out that hope and light for us this evening. Everyone, have a beautiful evening. Come back and watch us on the replay, and we will share this out for the next week. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, April.